Alfa 146, il punto di arrivo di un'avventura stilistica affascinante, che ha portato alla nascita di una fra le berline più interessanti della sua categoria. Alfa 146 riprende la classica soluzione 2 volumi e mezzo che ha molti riferimenti nella storia Alfa Romeo. Il centro stile ha interpretato questa forma, trovando un perfetto bilanciamento tra tradizione e innovazione. Alfa 146 ha i tratti sportivi delle grandi Alfa Romeo. Nello stesso tempo è una berlina vera che offre lo spazio e il comfort di viaggio di un'auto moderna. Con Alfa 146 si completa la gamma della marca. La nuova vettura si affianca all'Alfa 145, all'Alfa 155 da poco rinnovata, alle nuove sportive di casa Alfa Romeo, GTV e Spider, all'ammiraglia Alfa 164. Alfa 146, la nuova Alfa Romeo per un grande pubblico dal cuore sportivo.
The new 2000 twin-spark 16-valve engine, compact, flexible and a sparkling performer. An Alfa masterpiece offering top performance for its size, 150 horsepower, 76 horsepower per litre. This engine already complies with Phase 2 of the EC environmental legislation. It develops maximum torque at 4,000 RPM, with 90% available at 2,500 RPM. This is the only engine in its class to have a combination of twin-spark system, 4 valves per cylinder, variable timing, counterbalancing shafts. The new 2000 twin-spark 16-valve features sequential injection and integral ignition coils. Sensors in each cylinder provide an anti-knock control, which also helps reduce fuel consumption. Servicing is reduced because the 3 belts are controlled by automatic tensioners. The use of a special damper to reduce torsional vibration from the drive shaft improves driving comfort. A new shape of throttle valve duct is responsible for smooth power delivery. EGR, recirculation of spent exhaust gases in the combustion mixture, reduces the temperature at which combustion takes place and as a result reduces the level of pollutants and fuel consumption. The gradual metered emission of these gases is electronically controlled. The combination of 4 valves per cylinder and the twin spark plug system is unique in an engine of this size and means the engine offers sparkling performance in the spirit of modern sports driving while conforming to environmental standards. Hydraulic tappet control means no servicing is needed until 100,000 kilometers. The engine features variable timing to guarantee maximum performance throughout the range. Cooling jets of oil keep piston temperature constant. The 2 counterbalancing shafts guarantee quiet, vibration-free operation throughout the rev range. The Alfa Romeo Coupe and Spider, cars which caused a real stir in their time, cars which made their mark in sports car history. Models which set standards for their combination of elegance and performance, of beauty and practicality, of power and prestige. Alfa GTV and Alfa Spider, heirs to the great tradition of the Cuore Sportivo. A history built on closely linked development of shape, engine technology and style. The ribs on the bonnet continue the line of the Alfa Romeo shield and create a harmonious whole which manages to be aggressive at the same time. A classic motive which has inspired the front of the Alfa GTV and the Alfa Spider. The air intakes at the side of the shield, the characteristic whiskers, recall a recurrent stylistic trait found on Alfas of the 50s and 60s. Seen from above, the Alfa GTV and the Alfa Spider have the typical figure 8 shape of the great sports cars. The effect is obtained by the crossing of 2 shapes harmoniously outlined by the strong sculpting. The top shape gets wider towards the front wheel. The lower part, however, gets wider towards the rear. The important passenger space of the GTV has a high truncated tail in the style of past Alfa coupes. The Alfa Spider is characterized by the balance of a softer tail end, which reminds one of the Duetto. The dashboard is obviously sports-inspired. The circular analog instruments are all separately mounted. The main ones facing the driver, the others in the center of the fascia, facing towards the driving seat. As in the days of the Giulietta Sprint and Giulietta Spider, Alfa Romeo offers its fans a brace of worthy cars which sit happily alongside each other with the same sporting aspirations brought to life in different ways. Aggression and character in the Alfa GTV, driving pleasure and personality in the Alfa Spider. Alfa GTV and Alfa Spider, two classic Alfa Romeos. Alfa Romeo sports cars have always stood for performance and road holding, acceleration and joy of driving. In other words, that Alfa Romeo driving experience. The Alfa GTV and Alfa Spider have the same feel about them. The ride, suspension and engine are designed for motoring enthusiasts. Both the new cars use the brand new 2000 twin-spark 16-valve engine, which delivers 150 horsepower. The Alfa GTV is also available with a turbocharged 2-litre 200 horsepower V6. A 3-litre 6-cylinder 12-valve unit developing 192 horsepower is available as an alternative for the Alfa Spider. The Alfa GTV and the Alfa Spider have a sporty feel, yet are easy to drive and have the sort of precise handling needed to tackle the most demanding roads, as well as the maneuverability required in everyday motoring. Both cars have ABS as standard. The new 4-link multiple rear suspension guarantees comfort, performance, stability, active safety by controlling the movement of the wheels in every driving situation. There is naturally a whole host of passive safety features fitted as standard. Driver's side airbag, seatbelt pretensioners, collapsible steering column, energy-absorbing front end, side impact bars and reinforced cross members, fire prevention system with fuel cutoff, non-return valve and heat shielding protection, reinforced windscreen frame, Alfa GTV and Alfa Spider, dedicated to those who are in love with style and who love that certain kind of driving. This is the heart of the Thixo molding process and involves the material being preheated to over 550 degrees centigrade in a special induction oven. This has a stabilizing effect between the outside cortex and the inside of the material. At this temperature, the material has the consistency of gelatine and can be cut with a kitchen knife. With the aluminium at the consistency it reaches in its thixotropic state, it is suitable for injection. A piston compresses the aluminium at a maximum pressure of 1,100 atmospheres into the press, where it forms itself into the final shape of the part. The aluminium is returned to its solid state by a rapid cooling process, after which it can be removed from the press. Welding was chosen for the final chassis assembly as it guarantees maximum rigidity, vital for the dynamic performance of the car. In preparation for welding, the two parts are processed so that there is a minimum amount of light between the two pieces, which are to be welded together. Tungsten inert gas welding with or without flux has been used to obtain the best mechanical characteristics. In this process, the tungsten electrode strikes an extremely high temperature arc, reaching some 7,000 degrees centigrade. Localized cooling is used to prevent parts deforming during welding. This process reduces the spread of heat to the surrounding parts. The assembled chassis is cut and drilled for attaching the suspension arms. It is now ready for the parts to be attached. It will then be attached at 4 points to the car. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are on the test track with the new Alfa GTV, which, as you know, features a sophisticated 4-link multiple rear suspension. The car is fitted with equipment to measure its handling characteristics, the rate of yaw, transverse acceleration, roll, and the angle of the steering wheel during the main tests of steering, steering jerk, and overtaking. There are also Kistler dynamometric wheels to assess the 6 spatial forces, and we will later use Zimmer mirrors to look at the variations in camber and toe-in. This will enable us to optimize the wheel's contact with the road. There are also video cameras to record the main parts of the tests. The steering test starts with a constant turning radius, following a curved path. Acceleration increases up to maximum transverse adherence, and we note the understeer curve and rev curve of the car. Right, we have just finished the steering test. In this test, we have reached a maximum transverse acceleration of 0.93 g with an angle of roll of 6.2 degrees and 4 minutes, proof of the high transverse adherence of the new 4-link multiple rear suspension. This is the steering jerk maneuver, taking a free line. In an open loop, the car is turned quickly to a fixed angle at a set speed. In this case, 120 kilometers per hour, with the steering wheel turned through 60 degrees. Here we are approaching the test area. The steering wheel is turned through 60 degrees and held there for 2 seconds. Then we allow the car to find its own natural balance. Evaluating yaw, transverse acceleration, roll and angle of the steering wheel, one can evaluate the car's readiness to realign itself, as well as the stability and quality with which it achieves this. In this particular case, we are also measuring the transverse forces on the rear wheels. In this test, we reached around 500 kilograms, and the changes in camber on the rear wheels, which under this force were only 30 minutes. So the suspension was very rigid. This is the overtaking maneuver, following the international ISO standard. The car follows a path laid out on the ground. In a closed loop, we can objectively measure the precision, readiness to carry out the maneuver, and stability. We are now starting the overtaking maneuver. 1, 2, 3. You can see quite clearly that the car follows the line without the steering having to be corrected. Here you can see that the rate of yaw and transverse acceleration are perfectly in tune, so it's all going well. Here we are then on the Alfa Romeo test track after Nardo's tests. This is where the final fine-tuning of the GTV's 4-link multiple rear suspension is taking place. In the slow part, through the bends, we will check motility, progressive steering and understeer. In the faster part, stability at high speed and road holding. Here's the first. We enter, foot right down on the accelerator. There are no motility problems, and the steering is progressive with no holes. Now we're up to speed, and the understeer is much reduced. I would say it's going well. Here we are now approaching the fastest part of the track, the Lesmo Bend, which is taken at about 145 to 150 kilometers per hour. It is a bend which is used to check the car's stability when it is at slightly reduced power on entering, and then its understeer at full power on exiting the bend. Now we can go. Here we are entering the bend. We are going at 150 kilometers per hour here. We throw it in. No problem in terms of stability on entering, nor with the road holding on exiting that bend.